Hey everybody, welcome to another chapter of the book of Sean. It is good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm excited about tonight's show. We're going to have a very interesting conversation, powerful conversation. The scripture says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And my guest tonight knows what that feels like. He has experienced tremendous successions of loss, deep and profound losses. And if you're at least, let's say 18, 15 years old, let's say 18 years old, then you probably know what it is to lose somebody, to have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Ethan is here tonight, and I can't wait to talk to him about what that has been for him, what it has done to him, and how he thinks about himself and his life, having gone through these many losses. You're going to be shocked at how many people he's actually had to lose. And somewhere along the way, parts of him have been chipped off. Parts of his own armor he's lost along the way. But I do believe that in spite of the things that we lose and the people that we also lose along the way, something remains. And that's what I'm going to see if I can find. What remains? What remains true and indelible about him and about the life we are all trying to live. It's going to be a great show tonight. Buckle up, because we're going to take a ride unlike any that you've had all day. We're going to do some Ask Dr. Sean later on, and we're going to start with some headlines right now. Ethan's coming up next. Headlines right now. Play the bumper highly. So let's talk about my dear sister, Karine Jean-Pierre. You've heard by now. That's her right there, Karine Jean-Pierre. She is making history again, as she will be the next White House press secretary. She's replacing Jen Psaki, who departs the job on May the 13th, allegedly, to work at MSNBC. President Joe Biden also announced that Karine will be promoted to assistant to the president, which is a very important role in the White House. So not only will she be the White House press secretary, she will also be an assistant to the president. And I love this story, and I'll tell you why. Because this Haitian-born woman who is also a member of the LGBTQ community reminds all of us who don't come from prominent places and may not be the typical American type that you can still win. And we need to see people who are different and who are bold and whose colors don't always fit into the spectrums of other people's expectation. We need to see people like her win. We need to see her shine so that she reminds people that even if the world is against you, it doesn't matter. She reminds us that in spite of everything people may do to you or think about where you come from, it doesn't matter. I ain't trying to be all biblical tonight, but I did read somewhere that if God be for you, then who can be against you? This Haitian-born woman who's a member of the LGBTQ community will be standing in front of the press every single day representing the executive branch of the government of the United States of America. And I know some of y'all right now are up against tremendous odds. I know some of you right now have your backs up against the wall. And I know some of you right now feel like you don't get the support that you deserve and you don't get the help that you need and that people are overlooking you, misunderstanding you. I know it. I know you feel that way. And every time you feel that way, I want you to remember that this Haitian-born woman who's a member of the LGBTQ community, she's risen from the ashes to take her place in front of the world. And if that can happen for her, I promise you it can happen for you too. I don't care what happens with the rest of your night or your day or your week or your month. I want you to keep going and believe. I want you to believe that before it's all over, you're going to take your place in the sun. And if you ever forget that that's possible, perhaps I should say it again. This Haitian-born woman who's a member of the LGBTQ community is going to stand every single day and speak for the government of the United States of America. If that don't make you shout, you don't want to dance. You know what I'm saying? You feel me, Ethan? I see you smiling, brother. I can't hear you yet, but Ethan is with me. If that don't make you shout, you don't want to dance. All right, let's talk about Andrew Willoit. Andrew Willoit, check this out. Andrew Willoit of Lebanon, Indiana, has been charged, listen to this, with a felony murder and the death of his wife, Elizabeth, who had cancer, and incidentally also filed for divorce. So that man that you just saw, put him back up there for me, John. That man that you just saw, his name is Andrew Willoit of Indiana. He's been allegedly charged with felony murder for the death of his wife, Elizabeth. But none of that stopped Andrew from winning the local Republican primary election while he's in jail. He won a primary election for allegedly killing his wife while he's in jail. So here's a man about whom the Indiana State Police said he allegedly hit his wife in the head with a blunt object and dumped her body in a nearby creek in March. He's currently being held in Boone County Jail without bond, and he won the Republican primary election for one of 3 open seats on the Clinton Township Board. Now, if you thought that Republicans were strange for their willingness to elect a liar like Donald Trump, then I know you think it's strange that they have a willingness to elect people who are allegedly accused of killing their wives. Oh my God. It's so ridiculous you have to laugh, right? If you don't laugh, you'll cuss. And I don't want to get put off the air. So that's why I go to the laughing, because I'm trying to mitigate the cussing. How in the world are you people electing someone who is in jail for allegedly killing their wives, allegedly hitting her with a blunt object and throwing her body in a creek, and you elected him to sit on the town board? I don't get it. I just really don't get it, okay? But apparently Republicans in Indiana have no problem with someone who seemingly is completely devoid of character or self-control or decency or honor or willingness to comply to the law. How's this man going to raise his hand and take an oath to the law? He is allegedly out here breaking it. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, have we gotten to the place where we will elect anybody? That's what I want to ask you. That's where you and I have this conversation. Have we gotten to the place where as citizens of this country, we will literally elect anybody? I mean, anybody. You can be a murderer, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? You can be a liar. That ain't no allegedly with Donald Trump. We know he's a liar. And anybody? Okay, I'm going to leave this alone, but I'm not one of those people. Listen to me. I'm not one of those people who wants my president to be common and simple. I want my president to be Barack Obama. Smart, dedicated, ethical, and not some run-of-the-mill nobody who's just willing to do anything and be anybody. You follow what I'm saying to you? And I certainly don't want whoever my representative is to be someone accused of murder. That's just out of bounds. We got to get back to the place where we decide that we want people that represent us because they embody the best of us. And nobody's perfect. I understand that. Obama's got his problems. We know other politicians have their problems. I got my problems, and guess what? You got yours. But we want people who at least strive for the best of what's inside of them, and not people who are so willing to go to the bottom of the barrel and to live their lives by the bass beat of some song that has decadence as its content and its lyric. Can we have people who run for office who actually stand for equality, equity, justice? At least you try. You know what I'm saying? Lord have mercy. I think integrity still matters. Call me old-fashioned. I think decency and common sense still matter. Okay? And I think being accused of murder should probably matter more. Did I go over? No, I didn't go over. Let's do one more. Right, let's do 2 more. All right, let's talk about Pope Francis. All right, this is a great story because, listen, you guys know that I have a background with the church and ministry, and I did that for a number of years. So this is a very interesting story for me. Okay, did you guys hear about this? Pope Francis and I don't always agree. Okay, and not that he needs to agree with me, and not that he even knows who the hell I am, but we don't always agree. Okay, so Pope Francis and we don't agree on LGBTQ people. All right, I think all God's children are all of God's children. We don't agree on a woman's right to choose. Okay, I think a woman ought to make the decision. It's her body. You make the decision. Okay, I should not be making the decision about what you do with your body. Okay, now Pope Francis and I don't agree on divorced people. I think divorced people should be treated with respect like everybody else, and nobody should be denying them communion because, anyway. And perhaps most of all, Pope Francis and I don't agree on celibacy. I just threw that one in to make you laugh, okay? Did I make you laugh? We don't agree on that. We definitely don't agree on celibacy, okay? All right. But recently, Pope Francis did something that I totally agree with. All right, check this out. Big shout out to Pope Francis. Here's what he did. Pope Francis let the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church have it. I mean, he let that man right there have it. The leader of the Russian Orthodox Church is a man by the name of Patriarch Kirill, okay? Patriarch Kirill, okay? And recently, Pope Francis told him to stop being Putin's altar boy after the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church endorsed Putin's war. And I absolutely love what Pope Francis said. He told this man, stop being the altar boy for Putin. And I'll tell you why I love this story so much and why I'm bringing it to you. Because for years and throughout history, religion has been used to endorse and give moral sanction to some of the worst atrocities in human history. All right? Religion was used to endorse slavery. Religion was used to endorse a second-class treatment of women. Religion was used to endorse and persecute LGBTQ people. Religion was used to even persecute. Religion was used to persecute Jews, by the way. Religion was used to enforce anti-blackness and to celebrate white supremacy. Religion was used to do all of those things. But here's my question. This is what Pope Francis called it out. How can you be the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, and claim to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and then be complicit in the prosecution of an immoral war? Jesus didn't stand for war. I've read the book, and nowhere in the book he didn't stand for war. In fact, he said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And yet the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church using religion to sanction and to cover and to clean and to whitewash an immoral and illicit war. Here's the wisdom. You ready for it? I brought this just for you. I've lived long enough now to know that goodness in the hands of a fool can create just as many problems as evil in the hands of a devil. Let's do one more, because I'm enjoying this tonight. Let's talk about Brown Chapel. Ethan, you ever heard of Brown Chapel? Just either Brown Chapel. Brown Chapel is in Alabama. And listen to this, people. Brown Chapel is one of the most historic sites in the history of the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, this church right there was where the march to the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday was organized, okay? Brown Chapel is where Martin Luther King and John Lewis strategized, mobilized, and organized to liberate Selma, Alabama from the tyranny of American apartheid. So Brown Chapel is a major sort of landmark, okay? Brown Chapel is where they marched from Brown Chapel to deal with Bloody Sunday at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where you saw that iconic footage of John Lewis and others being trampled by the horse, right? But recently, very recently, Brown Chapel was put on the 2022's Most Endangered Places list, not for reasons dealing with violence or racism, check this out, but because the church has termites. Yes, termites. I'm trying to keep calm. Termites have so ravaged the building that the church was forced to close to its congregation for, and I quote, the foreseeable future. So termites did what white supremacy couldn't do. Termites did what Sheriff Clark couldn't do. You hear what I said? Termites. I don't even understand how this is possible. Every year and every 4 years, presidential candidates come to Brown Chapel because it's where you have to come if you want to like indoctrinate yourself and cover yourself with the civil rights movement. And the church is, without question, one of the major civil rights places and destinations. People are constantly wanting to visit Brown Chapel because of its connection to Bloody Sunday. And the people who are managing this church, leading this church, never thought that they should like take care of the building. You have one of the leading churches for iconic destinations for civil rights. You never thought you should check the building? I know what time it is. I'm going over. Y'all relax. I ain't done yet with this. How is it possible that you didn't check the building? That's like the National Cathedral closing down because they have mice. Can you imagine that? Termites. Termites. Anyway, here's the wisdom I got from this, man. If you have something special, take care of it. If you have something that's really iconic, believe in it enough to make sure you are supporting it, inspecting it, and making sure it can survive into the future. Don't take what you have for granted. I don't care if you're black or white or blue or gay or straight or male or female. If you have something that's important to you, make sure you take care of it. Because if termites can do what white supremacy couldn't do, that ain't on white folks. That's on us. We'll be right back with my brother Ethan right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Before it's all over, we're all going to have to deal with the enormity, the sadness, and the devastating truth, the melancholy truth even, that we will lose people. We don't all get to finish together. And that is something that is hard to deal with. And the younger you are, the more confusing it is. The older you are, perhaps the more you reconcile yourself with it. But it is never easy. That's the point I'm trying to make. My guest tonight knows that journey. He knows that story. He knows what it is to go down into the valley of the shadow of death. Welcome to the show tonight, my dear brother Ethan Horace. Hey, Ethan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, brother. How you feeling today?
I am doing well. Thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate you being here.
No problem, man. It's my pleasure.
So listen, I want to get right into it, okay? Because you've had to deal, a part of the benefit of the show tonight is to really allow people into your journey and your story, but also into your heart, right? To let people know, how this has made you feel. And so here's my first question. You've had to deal with death a lot of times. And I'm wondering, what does dealing with, and we'll go through all the times, all right? So we'll have time for that, because I want to get specific later on. But what does dealing with death over and over again, what does it do to you? What happens to you?
I feel like after a while, it creates a numbness. After a while, it creates a numbness. It kind of just a little bit of paranoia as well, or a lot of bit of paranoia, I should say.
Paranoia about what? Because that's interesting.
Paranoia about dying, paranoia about getting badly injured, which might lead to death. Paranoia just about, freak accidents, bad health, just everything you could think of that could possibly happen to somebody. I don't want to say I torture myself with those thoughts, but they go through my head a whole lot.
Yeah, so it's a constant sort of referring back to death, losing people, and a projection of what might happen to you. Did I get it right?
Yeah, and I know death is going to happen, but, a lot of people that passed around me, they died way earlier than expected.
Yeah. So let's talk about one of them, because one, I know that the death of your father in 2007 was a complicated loss. When I say complicated loss, explain to everybody what that might mean.
I met my father when I was 20 years old, and he died when I was 21. And we didn't spend that much time in that 1 year. So when he passed, it's just so many question marks that were just left there. And then me and the family aren't connected no more, so those question marks are still there. And it's just so much about myself that I wonder, am I like him? Is this where I get this from? Is it from him? Or just, again, all these question marks.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask you why you didn't meet him until you were 20?
Well, when I was young, we were moving around to different states, my family. And I didn't know that every time we moved around to a different state, it was because my father had lived there. But I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was too much anxiety or what, but the meeting never happened until we moved to Minnesota.
So you meet...
And years after.
Yeah. So you meet him when you're 20, and he passes away when you're 21. Here's my question. How do you feel about him at the moment of his passing? Did you feel any emotional connection to him? Was there resentment, anger, anything?
If I'm being totally honest with you, man, there was a lot of resentment at first. I felt like, your whole life, you don't know who your father is until you meet him, and he leaves shortly after. I don't want to say I blamed him, but I had some type of resentment there for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I would too, because the moment you said that, I started tracking my own feelings, and I started thinking, you know how angry I would be if I wait 20 years to meet you, and then I only get a year to kind of spend time with you. So that's the complicated loss. But here's what I know for sure. You had a very profoundly emotional loss in 2015 with the loss of your grandmother. Talk about that, because that one, if I got it right, that one affected you differently, right?
Yeah. I mean, my grandmother, she always told me I was her favorite grandchild. So when she passed, and she was overseas in Liberia, I wasn't able to be there with her when she passed. So, and my grandma was very spiritual. We were very close. So when she passed, it just, that was the beginning of me kind of understanding what people really go through and why they go through certain things.
Hmm. What was the level of your grief when you lost your grandmother?
I would say the scale of 1 to 10 is probably like a 7.
Wow. 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 And prior to that moment, because this happened in 2015, you lost your father in 2017. Prior to that moment, did you even know what depression was?
I was one of those dudes where I didn't even believe in depression.
That's why I asked you the question. I intuitively knew that. Talk to me about that. Why didn't you believe in it?
I've been strong my whole life. So I went through a lot of circumstances where I thought I was just so tough. And, it took me 4 years to finish my senior year of high school. I got made fun of. I lost a lot of weight and lost. I just did a lot of things that were very tough. And at these times, I didn't experience a really big loss like that. So when I would see people depressed, I just didn't believe. I couldn't understand. I couldn't relate to it at the time.
Yeah. No, listen, Ethan, that is so good. I'll tell you why that's so good. Because I'm so glad you said that. Because I'm so glad that my audience gets to hear from a strong man that strong men get depressed.
No, that's true.
Yeah. We also hurt. We also get wounded. Hey, let me ask you this: Did anybody ever teach you prior to 2015? Did anybody ever teach you how to deal with death?
No, nobody did because in our culture we don't really talk about it. So a lot of people died from the Civil War. Not even a conversation, no therapy about it, nothing. Just we live life. Parents pay bills. I got to go to school, and that's it.
Yeah. And do you think that kind of culture served you, or did it hurt you?
I think it hurt me in the long run because I think as an adult or even anybody, we're gonna have to deal with death no matter what. I wish I could have been just a little bit prepared more mentally, a little bit.
Yeah. So what do you wish someone had told you about death?
The biggest thing I wish they would have told me, and my mom did tell me this right before she passed, but the biggest thing I wish that would have happened was somebody just let me know, like, when this stuff happens, you got to be at your strongest point, and you might get down, and at these points you got to keep on focusing, and you can't let it get the best of you, and it will get the best of us, but we got to be able to fight past that. I wish somebody just would have told me that, or just put that awareness in me.
Yeah. And here's what I wish someone would have told you: that depression has nothing to do with weakness, and it has nothing to do with strength. It has everything to do with being human, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah, that sadness don't care how strong you are, and it don't care how weak you are. And here's the other thing I wish someone would have told you, and me, by the way, that the hurt is real because the love was real, and when the love is real, yeah, you feel what I'm saying?
Felt that.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Because you mentioned that your grandmother was a spiritual woman. Do you have a faith life, a spiritual life? I'm just asking generally.
I don't go to church, but I'm very spiritual. I've been through a lot of things in my life where I should have been gone, or
Yep.
just all type of different situations, and there's no way it's just me that got me through that. It's just not possible in my brain. It has to be from a God.
Yeah. So the fact that you don't go to church, you have a spiritual life, makes me love you even more. because
I appreciate it.
because I found that people that go to church a lot are usually difficult to deal with. All right, so here's my question to you. And cause let's go there for a second.
Okay.
And we're gonna talk about your mom's passing in a little while, and your brother, right? But you've dealt with your brother, your mom, your grandmother, your father, right? All of these people having passed. And here's what I want to know. And that's why I asked you the faith question. What does your faith tell you about this experience that you've gone through?
I mean, it's different signals at different times. Sometimes it's like you got to be careful. You got to stay in the house. You can't eat pizza because you die early and get cancer. Or I might hold myself back from doing things. And sometimes it's like, they're all gone. So what are you going to do? They're not here. So you're the only person that's here to represent them. So you got to go harder for yourself. And that's like the roller coaster seesaw all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, because if I'm hearing you correctly, your faith and your fear have commingled. And
Definitely.
yeah. Talk about that for a second.
I got really paranoid, man. So, my mother was in her 40s when she died. And so, I mean, in my brain, I thought she would live to be older. I would buy a house and get rich off my craft and all these other things. And then when she was gone, and then my brother was gone and so forth, I just started looking around like, wow. I mean, it just, I never imagined that. I never imagined that. So it was just so tough to navigate how long will I be alive, or even just to think about things like that. It would really just like consume me a lot.
And I heard that the pandemic and COVID and sort of being in the house and having compounded that with all of these losses, I heard that really affected you. Would you mind talking about that?
Yeah, well, I'm a person, I like to stay busy. And I was on a basketball tour, but once COVID hit, there was no more basketball tour. So it gave me a lot of time to think about a lot of things that I always kind of don't have that much time to think about. And George Floyd happened at the same time in the city where I live in Minneapolis. And so it just made me paranoid overall. Just super, when I say paranoid, super paranoid.
So rate it for me. A scale of 1 to 10, rate your paranoia as you see it.
12.
Wow.
Easy.
Wow. Okay. This is it. So tell me, how did that manifest itself?
I used to travel a lot, man. I used to go outside and play basketball a lot. I was doing a little bit of playing basketball outside, but not much. I would stay, everything orders sent to me, food, groceries, whatever you name it. I wouldn't travel nowhere. I didn't want to go anywhere and be around people. I didn't like. It was times, especially during George Floyd, I would be paranoid about taking my trash in the alley. I'd be like, what if a police officer's like, we saw you down doing something, which I probably doing, I wouldn't be doing, and then they kill me for whatever reason. So just all these different factors.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question because I think I need to be responsible with you. Have you ever had counseling?
I just recently got into counseling like in the last 2-3 weeks.
Okay, good.
Therapy or counseling, however you want to word it.
Good. And real quick, because I got to take a break. How do you feel about being a part of that process? You feel good about it?
I feel like as a Scorpio, man, it's new to me. I'm not used to telling people my problems. I'm used to helping other people with their problems. But I feel like it can be good over time. I just have to warm up to it more. I'm very stubborn. I'm a very stubborn dude. I'm being really honest with you. No. So it's going to take time.
Listen, I got to take a break. So after the break, let's talk about that when we come back, all right? Because I want to encourage you with this, and because I am excited to hear that you are in this process, because I really think it's going to bless you. Let's take this break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the benefits of counseling and therapy and why it is I think Ethan is going to excel, okay? Because I've noticed some things about him that I think are going to serve him well in the next season of his life. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. I'm talking to my dear brother, Ethan Horace. This is an interesting conversation, Ethan, because, we all deal with death and we all deal with it differently. Before we took our break, I was really encouraging you to feel positive about this journey into therapy and counseling. And I'll tell you why. And then I want to ask you an additional question, because because I feel like you are the kind of person who will excel. My son said something to me, and I'm make this comparison. My son said something to me. He needed to go to counseling, and he said, I don't feel right telling someone my issues and my problems. And I said to him, you should think about it differently. You're not telling someone your problems. What you're doing is you're inviting a professional to give you a perspective you can't have on your own. And he said to me, I never thought about it like that. I said, yeah, the person you're talking to isn't there. They've heard a billion people's problems. They're not here just to listen to your problems. They are professionals. They can give you a perspective that you might not be able to get on your own. So when I say that, I saw your face change. What happened when I said that?
I mean, I try to grasp that a little bit.
Yeah. Let that sink in, because what I've discovered is that we often need another set of eyes, right? It's like, to be great, you can't just see the whole thing yourself, right? You need teammates and people on your side. And here's why. Because my producers told me, and you correct me if I got this wrong, that on some level you feel like your past, right, before you got to basketball and before you got to, wherever you are now, that your past somehow plays a part in some sort of karma way in what you've had to deal with. Did we get that right?
That's definitely right for sure.
Okay.
No lie about that.
Talk to me about why you think karma plays a part in all of the death experiences that you've had to deal with.
When I was younger, I was a problem child, so I would always fight people, beat them up. That was just as a child. When I reached my teenage years, I wasn't a gangster, but I was a thug. I would break into houses. I would do home invasions. I would rob people at gunpoint. I probably shouldn't be saying this type of stuff. Anyways, I would be doing all these criminal things that I feel could only bring bad energy towards me. And even though this probably isn't a good thing, I didn't get caught for a lot of things. And in my head, I always be like, there has to be some kind of kickback for this. Because again, I believe in God, I believe in karma. I'm like, I can't, like, what about this that happened then and this and that? Like, what's going to happen to me for that? And so sometimes I just wonder, like, is that why you lost most of your family members? It's just like a natural thought for me.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I understand that. Have you ever asked for forgiveness?
I've asked for forgiveness. I still ask for forgiveness nowadays as well. I don't know. I don't know what more could be taken from me, so I don't know how much forgiveness to ask for, if that makes sense. But yeah. I still ask forgiveness to this day.
Yeah, I'm compelled to say this to you, Ethan, that the Creator God's not out to get you, and God's not out to pay you back. Because if God really wanted to get you, you'd be the one in the casket.
I understand that. I've been really close before, real close.
Yeah, so I heard you had Crohn's disease, right?
I do have Crohn's disease.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. Talk about that. Talk about that experience because I heard that you came really close to not being here.
Mother's Day 2018, and so I was diagnosed maybe like 2 years earlier with like everyday issues. But on Mother's Day of 2018, I just couldn't take it no more. And somebody I know was like, "Dude, you like you're dying to go to the hospital." I mean, he couldn't have been more on point than that. And so I went to the hospital. I thought it'd be like a regular thing. They give me steroids or Humira, I go home. They was like, you got to stay here for at least a week or two. You need a surgery within a day or two because my colon was touching my other organ and it almost was going to bust.
So you caught it just in the nick of time.
That's pretty much what they said. They said if I would have waited 2 more days, it would have my colon would have busted and my feces would have went like somehow to my bloodstream and I would have died from shock or something. They told me.
Yeah. See, Ethan, where I come from, we call that grace, not karma. We call that grace. And I obviously don't know, the circumstances of your dad and your mom and your grandmother and your brother, which I want to talk about in a second. But I do know this, that the God that I love and worship and serve don't work like that. That God is not going to pay your mother back for what you did. because if that's God, I don't want that. I don't need that kind of God. You know what I'm saying? So I'm saying to you that whatever, because I do believe in karma on a certain level, but not all karma. See, I'll put it this way: we don't always get what we deserve. Sometimes we get what we didn't ask for. And I'm saying to you that you came that close to death. That tells me that there's a grace on your life. There's a mercy on your life. In spite of all the death, that there's something that wanted you to stay here. And I want you to lean into that as much as you lean into the fact that you've lost people. When I say that, what do you think about that?
I mean, that goes through my head a lot. I do struggle with the paranoia thing and the karma thing, but at the end of the day, I do feel like I'm here for a reason still. I feel like, I don't want to say my life is just all that talk. Everybody has a tough life of some sort, but I feel like I'm surviving through this somehow, man. So there has to be some type of light at the end of the tunnel. All
right, listen. More than light, let's just go there, you and me. It's more than just light at the end of the tunnel. That it is your perfected self waiting for you after you get through going through all these twists and turns and ups and downs. Let me ask you a question, all right? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And it's a question that I think that only someone like you can answer.
Okay.
Having gone through all of this death, all of this depression, what has it taught you about life?
I used to think that, life is just, it's tough, but we got to power through it. When I was, before these people died, I think I had a more of a, I don't want to say a sweet perspective of life, but I didn't really go through those hard things. Now I'm like, look, if it's not hard, then what's the value? Because I feel like my life has extra value because I've survived through those people and being so hurt, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. It more than just makes sense. There's a kernel of wisdom in that. And the wisdom is that you see life from a perspective that most people, having not gone through what you've gone through, can never see it. And this is the point I'm making. At the end of your journey, there will be something not just light. There will be joy for you again. There's greatness waiting for you. You feel me? I know you feel me. I know you feel, because I see it on your face. You are going to get some good out of this. And you're going to be something better because you went through this. And I wish you didn't have to have gone through it, right? I lost my mom. I wish I didn't have to have gone through that. But I am determined that her death and her life would not have been in vain. And I think that's true for you with respect to your mother and your grandmother, your brother and your father. When I say that, how does that make you feel?
I mean, I feel like I agree with that, because at times, in my hardest times, that's what I have to tell myself, It'd be times where I wake up in the morning. I'm sorry for getting all emotional, man. I'm not really emotional.
I am.
I have to tell myself that sometimes, or else I'll just sit still in bed. You know what I mean? I can't. Before my mom died, she was like, when I die, it's like she knew she was going to die. She's like, when I die, whatever your dream is, keep on pushing for it, no matter how bad it hurts. She's like, I don't even want you to cry about me dying. My mom's a straight shooter, you know what I mean? And so I try to keep that mentality in me, even the hard times.
Yeah, listen, man. Regrettably, I'm out of time, but I want the words of your mother to be your mantra, to be the thing that you live by, and I want the words of your mother to be the thing that inspires you to go forward. And here's your mission. You ready for this?
Yes.
You make sure that her life and death is not in vain. That you are now her representative on the earth. And I want to know your mother's name and legacy because of what you do with the rest of your life. And when you get to where you're going, speak her name and tell the world her story. And that will be the greatest way you pay homage to her. And that will be how you take a death. I'll put it in biblical terms. That's how you take what the devil meant for evil and you work it for your good. Ethan, thank you for coming on tonight, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. God bless.
No, likewise, man. Listen. I enjoyed talking to him. We got to take a break because I could do this for another 2 hours. We got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do some Ask Dr. Sean. But I hope you heard what I said to him, and I hope you felt him. Keep him in your prayers, okay? If you know the word of prayer, keep Ethan in your prayers. Keep me in your prayers. We'll be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. That was an amazing and remarkable conversation, wasn't it? Ethan he represents so many people, and particularly so many men, right? Who at a certain stage of our lives, we don't believe in counseling, we don't believe in feelings and all that, and then life does its work. Life will crush you, break you, and throw you down on the ground and make you holler out, uncle. You know what I'm saying? And then, once the darkness gives way, we emerge about the experience understanding life better. I'm excited about his future. I think he's going to be fine. I think the moment he relinquishes himself from the burden of believing that he's responsible for when people die, because we don't have that kind of power and we don't serve that kind of God, I think once he releases himself from that and settles into his forgiveness and continues to go forward with his therapy and his counseling, he's going to be all right. Did you see the emotion? Did you see the feeling come out of him? That's how you know, in spite of his propensity to be a recluse, in spite of his paranoia, in spite of his fear, life is still in there. Woo! Lord have mercy. Play the bumper, Hailey. Let's do some Ask Dr. Sean. All right. You guys always send me wonderful, wonderful, wonderful videos, and please continue to send them. You can send them to askdr.sean@foxhole.tv. But Tony sent me one, so let's take a look at it right now.
Hi, Dr. Sean. My name is Tony Bryce, and I need some advice. What are 3 habits I can start doing that can improve my life?
All right. Thank you for that. So the first one is pretty simple. It doesn't take a lot. I believe very much in either prayer or meditation. time for centering. So if you're not a praying person because you're not into religion or spirituality, then meditate. But I believe that, that the more you get in touch with you, the more you are less dependent on what other people think and say about you to find out who you are. So get to know what you're feeling, why you're feeling it, why can't you focus. That going in, the inner life, is where life really happens. So that's the first thing I would say. And I would say, which is kind of the opposite of that, but I think they go together. They create a wonderful marriage or a wonderful cohesion. Is get moving, working out. Be active, whether that's running or walking or hiking like my producer Jocelyn loves to do. But whatever it is, get your body moving, dancing. You follow what I'm saying? Get your body moving. Get in touch with the things that are going to remind you that you are connected to life, that you are connected to the living things, the systems, the ecosystem of this world, the breathing, all of that, sweating. Move, because we've become too sedentary. And then here's probably the most interesting one that I'm going to say. Read. 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 And I'm not talking about Instagram posts or Twitter posts, because that ain't reading, okay? I mean, find a book that speaks to you, represents your journey, where you've been, who you are, or whatever it is, that inspires you, encourages you, reminds you, and start reading. Start training your mind and start developing your thinking. Because as a man or a woman thinketh, so is she. And if the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your mind, and it is, then all of us have to be reinvested in not just watching videos. We become a video-driven culture. When we think that we see something on a video, we've acclimated ourselves to the information sufficiently. And the truth of the matter is, no. There's a part of your thinking that can only be accessed when you allow words to be poured into your mind and your spirit. So meditate and pray, be active about your life, and read. All right, let's do one more real quick. Someone DM me. For Mother's Day, my husband only gave me a $25 gift card and took me to breakfast, but he gave his mother $100 and made plans to take her to dinner. Should I confront him or just be grateful that he gave me a gift? Okay. Yeah, you should leave your husband alone, okay? And I'll tell you why. Leave your husband alone because you are not his mother. You are the mother of his children, and he honored you for that, okay? But he has a mother, and he honored his mother because that's his mama. And his connection with his mama is a unique connection, and it's Mother's Day. You see, if you guys have children, it's the job of your children to honor you the way he honors his mother. And he didn't ignore you on Mother's Day. He did not get you nothing, right? But he didn't get you something in comparison with his mother. So I want to invite you to stop competing with his mother. Stop comparing what he gave you to what he gave his mama. I just don't believe in that. I believe that if he had ignored you for Mother's Day, then you would have a beef and something to confront him about. Let this man honor his mama. Let him care about his mama, because the way he treats his mama is an indication of how he's going to continue to treat you. And you don't need to compare his love for you with his love for his mother. The two cannot be compared. And men are capable, just so you know, we are capable of loving the person we're connected to romantically and also loving the mother or the father who gave us life. And for us to love one without the other makes us an incomplete man. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more Ask Dr. Sean right after this. Welcome back, everybody. I enjoy the questions that you send me. I enjoy doing the best that I can to give you some advice, because we all need advice before it's all over. I've needed it before, and I appreciate the fact that often you come to me to get it. Let's take a look at this video sent in to me by Richie. Let's look at this one right now.
Dr. Sean, I'm Richie Sky, and I need some advice. What is the best way to establish boundaries in a relationship?
Yes, well, this is a great question. And it begins, Richie, with knowing who you are and what you like. The boundaries are not first created between you and someone else. Boundaries are created by standards that you have within yourself. When you have standards of things you will and will not accept, standards of things that do and do not bring you pleasure, standards of levels of vulnerability and how much you're willing to let people in or even allow yourself out, that's where the boundary begins. So I would say before you try to have a conversation with the other person about what the lines are, that you are clear about what the standards are, what the permissions are, what the joys and the levels of pleasure are within yourselves. Because be careful with boundaries. Some people can use boundaries to hide and not just to protect themselves. Because if I draw a line, it keeps you out. I don't ever have to let you in, and then I can blame you for never being close to me. So just be very clear about what it is internally, independent of that person, what brings you joy and pleasure, and all the things you're willing to accept and reach for, so that you go into this conversation truly expressing where you are and not just responding to what you do and don't want another person to do. And then the other part of my answer is very simple, is that I think you have a conversation where both of you get to sort of lay out and say what you are expecting and hoping and what you're not willing to sort of expect and hope and tolerate. You follow what I'm saying? It is indelible that all of you get to understand that together. This is a conversation that is mutual. So don't ever try to have a boundary conversation and you're the only one talking. You follow what I'm saying? When you have a genuine boundary conversation, both of you are allowing each other the space in the room and the language that you need to sort of both create boundaries. Because if both of you don't create and both of you don't agree, then you're wasting your time. That other person is going to disrespect those boundaries over and over again because they never agreed to them and they never helped create them. You follow what I'm saying? Just saying that I want to have boundaries doesn't create the boundary. The boundary is cemented and created when the other person participates, agrees that that is now our boundary. And I'm really hoping that the two of you will get to that part of the conversation as well. And whoever the other person is, they have to be able to state clearly and poignantly what their boundaries are. And you need to agree. It's a two-way conversation. First, you're clear about where you are, what you want, and what you need. And then you are engaging them to help you, the both of you together, create this wonderful relationship. And then here's the last thing. Every few weeks or few months, check in on the boundaries. Just because you create a boundary once doesn't mean that it remains forever. Check in on the boundaries. Do we still agree to that? And don't call them boundaries, by the way. Call them agreements. Do we still agree to this? See, a lot of couples get in trouble because they say things when they first started dating or when they first got married, and it's 2 years later. People have changed their minds. Check in with your agreements or what you call boundaries. All right. I think we've dealt with that one nicely. Let's look at a question someone emailed me. My sister had a baby with her high school sweetheart, but her relationship ended when they graduated. We're all in our 40s now, and her ex wants to date me. Do we need my sister's blessing? Great question. Here's the short answer. The short answer is no, you do not. You don't need your sister's blessing. But it will be efficacious. It will be to your benefit. It will be less dramatic if you give your sister the courtesy of letting her know. You see, if she stopped dating, they had a kid, and if they stopped dating in high school, and y'all in your 40s now, I don't know how many years that is, but that's a lot of years, right? Clearly they don't have a romantic relationship. They do have a child. And so I think out of respect for that, you need to let her know. But her blessing is not what's necessary. There's a difference between respecting someone with truth and information than getting their blessing to continue. And I'm saying respect your sister with truth and information, but don't confuse the matter to be that you need to get her blessing to continue. Okay? You're not hurting her. You're not violating her. And in my opinion, you're not doing anything to disrespect her. At all, really. Especially since they stopped dealing with each other when they were in high school. Yeah. This question is actually bigger than the one you asked me, because there's so many people who think they have to get permission from other people to do something in another stage of their lives. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need people's permission for you to have love and find pleasure and reach for greatness and be successful. In fact, some people, if you ask them for their permission, will deny it to you, not because you shouldn't have it, but because they don't want you to have it without them. Don't empower people to give you something that they don't actually have the power to give you. If you want love and you want greatness and you want progress, then you got to dig within yourself, go to something greater than you. I call it God. And if you get permission from you and from your Creator, you go forward with the life that you deserve, because you deserve it. I wish both of you well. And I hope both of you come to the place where you can have a wonderful relationship. But I do honor you for caring about what your sister thought, because that says something about your character and your integrity. And you should honor her with information and honesty. But then you move on and find the love you need with this great guy that you found and connected with again. What an amazing show tonight, right? An amazing show. We went down into the valley of the shadow of death. And if you watch the show tonight, you realize we came out on the other side. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know who's hurting you. I don't know who's trying to break you. But I came to tell you this in no uncertain terms. You are going to be okay. You are going to survive. Life is not finished with you yet. So your job is to wake up in the morning and get up and live. And live like you want to live, because you deserve it every single time. Thank you for watching tonight. I will see you soon. Y'all be good to each other, okay? Because if you didn't know, I love you. And there's nothing you can do about it.